Hey beautiful souls, soul dancer, the white dragon here. I've come upon something of very interesting that's triggered me a little bit, and I need to share it. You see, when you've been homeless, you have nowhere to go, you feel abandoned, alone, nobody cares, thrown away. In my case, I ended up in a homeless shelter after living a few nights on the street, almost gang raped, saved by a Good Samaritan security guard who I didn't know was in the building next to me, and I also didn't know that there was a camera right overhead, so when I peed in the drain, he saw. He also saw, I'm phrasing it like this, he also saw the white car that passed by with, I think, 2 or 3 men in it. They passed by twice, they made the block, and they were reversing when he came out, and he stood there. I've never seen a cigarette last as long as he smoked that cigarette. And then, through the assistance of a group and another person who took me there, I ended up in the homeless shelter. I've spoken about the shelter already: violent, cruel, dehumanizing, etc. I also share that it is now being closed down by the government. What's triggering me is this. In the small town where I have to come to get my transport at the bus station, I've met 2 people. One was this morning, the second one passed me by, and he said, he called the name of the shelter. CSDP is the acronym. And I just thought, I'm standing there eating my breakfast, and I just thought, what the fuck? Because apparently, and this has always been the case, I guess, when you're living in a shelter, when you're homeless, when you feel thrown away, nobody cares. You're not supposed to have standards. You're supposed to let everything fall by the wayside. Because nobody cares, you are also not supposed to care about yourself. That's the issue. And consequently, you being a female, and that is the sticking point, you being a female, as I was and still am, you're supposed to say yes to every motherfucker who passes by. So whatever they want, in whatever way they want, you give it to them. You give it up, whatever it is they want. We all know it's going to lead to sex, all right? When you end up in those places, your level is supposed to be in the toilet or at seriously ground level. I recognize long afterwards, which that's why the staff were cruel, why they didn't step in to help me when, let me call them inmates, because some of them were deportees, drug addicts, etc. When they stoned me with bottles and all sorts of stuff, I learned to fight. So I used to fight like a bitch. And I mean really, really mean, real street fight. We ain't talking about any pulling hair and this kind of shit. I will slam your face into the wall and make sure that your brain bleeds out of your ear. They came to respect me because they knew I kept my word. I was stand up and I wasn't taking any shit. And yet, I am the one you will always find reading a book on the balcony. I was always in the library. That's where I began my Facebook online business, which was very choppy going on for years, because I spent 4 years in there. Nevertheless, I persevered. In addition to which, I am the one when I recognize the inhumane and disrespectful and degrading treatment of other citizens like myself, I spoke up, I went to headquarters, and when necessary, I wrote to the newspapers until my articles, I shouldn't really call them articles, but my letters became a weekly event for 2 years. And because all of the newspapers began printing my letters on every subject, not just homelessness and the inhumane treatment and the state of the shelter, but also on politics and that sort of stuff. So I want to emphasize to you ladies in particular, yes, I know, there were men there as well, and it's two of those men that I'm talking about. But the bottom line is, ladies, do not lower your standards regardless of what is happening in your life. Say no. Maintain the level no matter how hard it is. Say no. Say fuck off. Say no. You need to maintain your dignity at all costs. I don't care if you have to go hungry, drink water. Man does not live by food, you know. Man and woman needs to live with air. You need air to live, and you need water. That's it. That's it. You can live on water. Take my word for that. Do not ever lower your standards. In places like that, you always have to ensure that you are at an even higher level. You have to dig down sometimes into the very depths of your guts, through the pain, to pull up that shit and maintain it and remind yourself of who you are every fucking day. You hear me? I'm really, really dead serious about this. Don't allow anyone to make you feel small. And even when anybody makes you feel defensive or small, you put on a brave face and you remind yourself of who you are. You are a being of divine spirit, divine love, divine power, and divine intelligence. Remind yourself of that even through the tears, even through the rapes after it happens. You absorb it, you suck it up, you cry those tears, you let that snot run, then you go report it and you fight. You fight till your last breath. You do not give in, you do not submit. I hope all you're listening to me here. Ciao.